like to welcome everyone to this historic podcast launch for the Mission Cultural Center for Latino Arts. We are launching Radio Jaguar. And today, our first podcast is honoring the historical figures that contributed to the development of major artwork, printmaking, posters of Mission Gráfica. We have a historical print shop at Mission Cultural Center for Latino Arts, and today we are having a podcast that is going to be featuring two major artists in our community, Art Hazelwood and Calixto Robles, who are part of a collective of artists who are raising money to publish the book Mission Gráfica, reflecting a community in print. They are kickstarting an Indiegogo Kickstart campaign where you can order your book, pre-order your book, and make contributions. We will be putting the QR code on the camera so that you can order this amazing book with a curated collection of prints, archival historical prints made by our community artists that have documented the history, the political history of a diverse community that is very unique to San Francisco, particularly the Mission District. So I'm going to start with Art Hazelwood, who's sitting here, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit about yourself, about how you came to Mission Gráfica and your role in publishing this book.
Great. Well, I was a printmaker for years and decided that I needed to do a screen print. I'd been doing woodcut prints for many years, and I was working on a poster for a homeless rights group. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt about the same group. Oh, can you hear me okay? And it was a good idea to do a screen print poster, so I went to Mission Gráfica knowing Calixto, who I'd met years before through different community groups. And Calixto, the beauty of Calixto's teaching style is that he can get anybody to print in one class. So he was able to get me started on that, and I just kept coming back. So when that was early 2000s, and so I started taking these classes with Calixto whenever he was there on Saturdays at that time, and doing a bunch of classes. And I discovered, wow, there's a whole history here. There's all these posters that are hidden away. Juan Fuentes had been organizing the archive, and Calixto would ask for pieces to put in the archive from the different artists that came through there. And well, what's the story with this archive? So over time, it became clear that not many people actually knew about this archive. So we had an opportunity when the curator of prints from the Library of Congress came to visit town. I gave her a little tour of different aspects of printmaking. I took her to San Quentin to see the printmaking program there. I took her to Mission Gráfica, and she was very excited about the work, not having any idea what's going on there. So that really started the ball rolling. Catherine Blood, the Library of Congress curator, her enthusiasm for the whole project of what's going on with this place and how to get that out into the world. I mean, I don't mean to be negative about the local art scene, but the interest in Mission Gráfica from the local museum world has not been as well as you would hope. Like local boy not getting any attention kind of story. So when the Library of Congress expressed an interest, and we had this giant dinner with all of these contributors to this project, and I think we really launched the project of trying to get something together that would reflect the history that had been ignored in many ways.
Well, I'm very grateful that you've taken the initiative to highlight the importance of this archive. I think it all came about very organically. Excuse me. But can you tell me a little bit about how the book came to be?
Well,
I mean, we know that the local art scene hasn't been very supportive of like they haven't really exploited the amazing treasure that we have locally with the in this archive.
For various reasons, there have been many books out about posters in the Bay Area, and for various reasons they have ignored Mission Gráfica. When Mission Gráfica has been ignored, we thought, well, the next book will come out and they'll mention it. But finally, we talked and thought something has to be done. Nobody's saying this. Nobody's telling this story. So it really came out of this coming together to meet with the Library of Congress curator, and then saying, now we need to actually tell the story of the community. So we all went up to this house that a friend has up the coast, and we spent a weekend just talking. And I got a recording device before iPhones and recorded their somewhat drunken conversation, and then started piecing together ideas, and really it was a period of several years. We just continued to meet and have wonderful dinners, and I would bring out the recording device and then transcribe it and start to put it together. And I think it really just came from this idea that no one's going to tell the story of Mission Gráfica unless we do.
Very good. And tell me, how long has it taken? What is the process? Talk to me about the process.
The process, well, more or less 10 years in the making.
10 years?
Yes. And part of that is just our just enjoyment of having fun together and not really buckling down and saying, okay, we got to do it now. Part of it is it's hard to track down a lot of the artists. It's hard to find out a lot of this information. There are people who are communicative and then disappear for a while, and so there's a history there. Even though it's a recent history, it's hard to find a lot of the details. So I think a lot of that time spent was just not being able to buckle down and knock out a history very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very grateful for your initiative and for the fact that this is finally going to be in our hands.
Yes, right here we have just a digital one-off book, but it will look nicer. Mm-hmm. It's a very nice book at this point, but it will be a nice book when we get it published because we will have much nicer quality paper, and we're hoping to do that soon.
And for those of you who believe, those of you who are listening to this podcast and who believe in self-sufficiency and making things happen, I encourage you and invite you to donate and to donate to the campaign and to purchase a copy and help us get this done. If we don't get it done ourselves, no one will do it for us. And so this is why we are doing this, and we are asking for your support. Our history is important, and we're taking it into our own hands here. So please support the Indiegogo campaign.
Maybe I can add something more to
yes.
that. Is it's a collaborative process. So while I'm listed as the author here, it's really the same way that posters were made at Mission Gráfica. It's a group of people coming together. Sometimes you have a designer, an artist, a printer. In this case, we had a whole team working together of people contributing all different ideas. So,
it's very interesting. We're here in the Haight at a pop-up on the corner of Haight and Ashbury, where so many new out of the box thinkers came out of, and we were exhibiting the archival prints, and some prints were signed and others were not. And I had Gato here the other day, and someone wanted to buy a print, but they wanted it signed, and they says, well, I could sign that. It's because we all worked on this together. We worked on it as a collaborative. We're a colectiva. And I want you and Calixto to talk a little bit about that process. What was it like to go into Mission Gráfica and create a poster collaboratively? What does that look like?
Well, I think it varied over the years. I think one of the interesting things about the history of Mission Gráfica is how the way that posters were produced has varied. So it's gone from, in the early days, maybe more towards a print publishing kind of idea. In a case like that, somebody might come in and say, here's my drawing, make a poster of it. There were artists who would deliver something, and the printers, in the early days, Rene Castro and Jos Sansis, would figure out how to do the separations, how to make that work. So the collaboration is, in some cases, an artist brings in a piece of work and says, make this. Then the collaboration is the printer turning that artistic vision into a poster. But that was not the common case. The common case was an artist would come in and needed help making the poster. The artist might do a whole design, they might draw out all the layers, and then the printers would work with them. The people who were the main team at Mission Gráfica. And it wasn't always just one person being a printer, there were often teams of people who would come through. Economics kind of changed that to some degree. The Mission Gráfica used to be able to really support itself off, in the pre-personal computer age, it used to be able to support itself by printing posters for neighborhood shops. Everybody needed a poster, but nobody knew how to make them. Now everybody's a designer and everybody has a print shop in their house. So there was a lot of that kind of an idea of collaboration, which would be just collaborating with the community. Our store needs a sign, make it something beautiful. So there are different kinds of collaboration. Then there were groups that came in as classes and portfolios that, for example, Juan Fuentes put together portfolios that would have a series of artists. Some of them maybe had no experience with screen print, and the women's portfolio that he put together, he selected groups of artists, women artists who I think most of them had never done screen print. So he walked them through the stages, some very hands-on, some had a vision of what they wanted exactly, some were very experimental. And so the collaboration took many different forms. Sometimes it would just be an artist come in and slap it out themselves.
Awesome. That's just a beautiful community experience too, which is, I think, very symbolic and of what Mission Cultural Center is. There's a community that is built around art. In Mission Gráfica, it was this collaboration of creating a poster. In other aspects of Mission Cultural Center, like for Carnival, it's a community effort, and a lot of the artistry that comes out of that center is built around connections, collaborations, sharing knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole aspect. One section of the book is on cultural celebrations, and obviously Calixto can talk to this better than I, but the history of Mission Gráfica, creating work for Day of the Dead, creating work for Carnival, all of these ideas of collaborating with the community in a sense of bringing a visual image to the community.
Yes. And I'm going to be now introducing Calixto Robles. When we had the opportunity, when SF Heritage gave us the opportunity to have this space for a pop-up in Haight-Ashbury, I was trying to figure out how I would make the connection between Haight-Ashbury and the Mission District. What is the connection? How do we come together and bring our histories together? And then Calixto Robles popped up, Michael Roman popped up. Why? Because Santana popped up. We are sitting here next to Jimi Hendrix's Red House. And I go, well, Mission Cultural Center has a long history of a connection to Latin rock, and there are a lot of our artists that contributed to the artwork that was displayed in much of the merchandise that was created for artists, early artists like Carlos Santana, and when Carlos Santana comes to mind, Calixto comes to mind. Now I'm going to switch to Spanish because I want Calixto to tell us a little bit about who he is and how he came to Mission Gráfica. Ahora voy a presentar a Calixto Robles y quiero que nos diga un poco de quién es y cómo es que él llegó a formar parte de esta colectiva de artistas en Misión Gráfica.
Buenas tardes la audiencia de Radio Jaguar. Gracias por la invitación. Y pues yo llegué al Centro Cultural más o menos en 1986. Caminaba yo por la calle de la Misión y había unos flyers en las ventanas de unas clases de dibujo. Y pues yo entré y pregunté. Las clases eran los miércoles y viernes en la tarde de 6 a 8 y la daba René Castro, era el instructor. Empecé a ir a las clases a dibujar y después de varios meses un día me dijo René si yo conocía el estudio de screen printing upstairs arriba, y yo le dije pues no lo conocía, pues el edificio es muy grande y yo nomás iba a la clase al salón de dibujo, y me dijo súbele, y subí con él, y cuando vi el taller de Mission Gráfica con las mesas y creo que unas personas estaban imprimiendo, y era la primera vez que yo veía eso. Yo no conocía esa técnica, y pues vi que con un pull, con un jalón, se cubre una gran área del papel con la pintura. Le dije si podía ayudar de voluntario, y me dijo él sí. Entonces pues ya desde esa vez empecé a llegar al estudio, a ayudar a raquear el papel, a limpiar screens, y poco a poco empecé a hacer mis pósters. Más o menos así fue como llegué.
¿Y cómo fue que o sea, te enganchaste en esta arte, este tipo de arte? Porque obviamente entraste para dibujo y luego te introducieron a este tipo de arte. ¿Qué fue lo que te motivó, lo que te enganchó en este proceso?
Sí, no, pues yo había llegado aquí a Estados Unidos en el 83. Yo vengo de Oaxaca. Yo estudié en la universidad en Oaxaca, estudié administración de empresas, pero yo siempre quise estudiar arte. Pero cuando yo le dije a mi padre que quería ir a la universidad a estudiar arte, él me dijo, no creo, mejor estudia para doctor, para licenciado. Pero no. Entonces, pues yo estudié mi college en Industrial Chemistry, I think. Pero yo cuando iba a la clase yo no estaba pensando en química, estaba pensando en dibujar, en dibujos. Yo siempre estaba haciendo dibujos anyway, pero yo acabé, pero pues yo siempre tenía mis amigos. Algunos de mis amigos fueron a la universidad de Fine Art School, y ellos en las noches nos juntábamos y me mostraban sus pinturas, y yo siempre pintaba en la casa, ¿verdad? Acrílicos, óleos. Pero cuando vine aquí, como cualquier inmigrante, empecé a buscar trabajo y trabajé en algún tiempo en construcción, otras veces en restaurantes. Pero también otra cosa que me ayudó mucho es que iba yo a la biblioteca a estudiar nuestra cultura, la historia de los aztecas, los mayas, los zapotecos, mixtecos. Y en un pequeño cuarto que yo vivía, ahí yo siempre estaba dibujando acuarelas o acrílicos. Entonces yo siempre tenía la intención de arte. Cuando vi el anuncio de las clases de dibujo, pues era como, wow, esto es el lugar, ¿no? Y ya cuando vi el screen printing, pues más me motivó más. También otra cosa que me enganchó fue la misión que tenía gráfica. O sea, un espacio muy abierto, muy político. Yo venía de Oaxaca, que es un estado bien político. Yo vi los estudiantes, las marchas en Oaxaca, los campesinos protestando por mejores condiciones de vida, y con la marcha siempre iban los pósters en las paredes, las pintas. Entonces, cuando yo llego a gráfica y veo la pared, como esa pared que está ahí, como los pósters de Juan Fuentes, de Rupert García, de René Castro, de Joss, de Malaquías Montoya, creo que había unos pósters. Entonces, pósters políticos, ¿verdad? Yo dije, wow, este es el lugar que yo quiero estar acá. Los pósters me jalaron, y el mensaje. Y pues no me equivoqué, porque ese lugar es un lugar con una solidaridad con muchos movimientos sociales. En ese tiempo yo recuerdo que se estaban trabajando pósters para pedir porque se acabara el apartheid en Sudáfrica, y también había pósters para apoyar para acabar el embargo de Cuba, para la lucha de los campesinos con César Chávez, Dolores Huerta. Y me acuerdo de un póster que estaba ahí que se exigía ya la liberación de Leonard Peltier. Entonces eso fue lo que a mí me jaló para estar en Mission Gráfica.
Entonces fue el movimiento político, y cómo el arte servía como una herramienta de cambio social y conciencia social.
Sí.
O sea, muchos de los pósters que se han creado aquí son enigmáticos, o sea, en la historia, ¿no? O sea, se han creado imágenes que sirven como símbolo de un movimiento político, y tú has creado y has participado en la creación de muchos de estos pósters, pero también tienes un estilo muy particular y muy reconocido, que tu estilo de arte es algo que une, que se reconoce como un estilo muy popular aquí en el área de la Bahía. Eres de Oaxaca, emigrante, pero has creado tu propio estilo y tu voz por medio de la expresión artística. Quiero que me cuentes un poquito sobre cómo conociste a Carlos Santana y lo que has hecho, o sea, el estilo de arte que le llamó la atención a él.
No, pues a Santana lo conocí en Mission Gráfica, ¿no? Uh-huh. Cuando estaba en Oaxaca, pues él era era mi ídolo, uno de mis ídolos, de mis músicos ahí, del rock. Y lo conocí en gráfica. René Castro, mi maestro, él estaba diseñando un cover de un disco de Carlos, el disco que se llama Blues para El Salvador, y ahí lo conocí. Y después, más tarde, pues, tuve la suerte de visitarlo, él con otros artistas como Michael Roman, uh-huh, Sal García, ellos nos invitaron Carlos nos invitó a su casa a mostrar nuestro trabajo y desde ahí empezó una amistad. Ese fue.
¿Y tú has creado camisetas para él, pósters?
Sí, no, pues algunos trabajos para él, algunas, últimamente sí, le he hecho algunas camisas. Tenemos una amistad muy bonita, muy buena.
Y ahora tú tienes tu propio estudio, ¿verdad?
Sí, tengo un pequeño taller en la 16 y la CAP, en el Redstone Building. Ahí hago mis pinturas, mi serigrafía, litografía, imprimo en camisas.
Y veo que continúas tu compromiso a la comunidad por medio del arte, porque continúas a crear pósters políticos. Últimamente vi un póster que hiciste para los campesinos, o sea, arte para el pueblo.
Sí, no.
Háblame un poquito sobre por qué es importante hacer eso y más durante esta época.
Pues es una... hacer arte de trabajo político, pues todos hacemos arte de trabajo político, pero es nada más seguir el camino que nos enseñaron muchos, bueno, que yo he aprendido de muchos artistas como el maestro Juan Fuentes, como René, como Hazelwood, como Patrick Piazza, como amigos que han llegado ahí y que usan su trabajo para hacer conciencia, ¿no? Para invitar a la gente a que piense o para apoyar movimientos, ¿verdad? La gente que no tiene casa, los desalojos que hay en el barrio, la lucha de las mujeres, pues todo esto, hay muchos temas que uno como creador de arte, pues sabes, ¿no? Te das cuenta y la única forma bueno, no la única forma, pero una de las formas de usar tu trabajo, lo que conoces, pues es, en este caso, haciendo pósters y dándolos o poniéndolos en la calle para que la gente conozca.
¿Y por qué crees que es importante publicar este libro? ¿Cómo es que tú te involucraste en la publicación de este libro, Misión Gráfica, reflejando la comunidad en la imprenta?
No, pues es importante porque que se reconozca el trabajo que se ha hecho en Mission Gráfica, ¿no? También la calidad de algunos trabajos que están allá, ¿no? No solamente han sido para promover o para ayudar movimientos, pero también tienen una calidad artística muy buena.
Can I jump in on that?
Yes.
I mean, I was just thinking of the touching on the political history, which in a way this is 45 years of the history of different political movements. When Mission Cultural Center first was established, the mission had a huge Nicaraguan population, and the interests of the Mission Cultural Center was directed towards Nicaragua and the revolution there. That shifting over time to new struggles. When I came to Mission Gráfica and worked with Calixto, one of the really exciting things that was happening there was this atmosphere of a collective. Arnaldo and Gato were part of it. They created posters around the Zapatistas. There was a real movement of everybody trying to think of ways to make artwork, working on a poster together. I remember some of the posters Arnaldo made that had drawings by Gato in them, and they would work together. And this whole teamwork and stylistic integrity, or integration, I should say, that happened between the different artists that were working at that time was very exciting. So you have this stylistic changes over time, but you also have a history of politics, which is a big part of what Mission Gráfica has been about.
I really, when I first came to San Francisco and I saw the posters created at Mission Gráfica, and I remember coming into contact with Gato, Calixto, Giovanni, the whole group. Their work was just so powerful. It was very powerful work, and they weren't attached to it. They were creating art for a movement, for the people, for the community. A lot of times, when we work with artists, that's my piece, and they take very personal ownership of it. And one of the things that I was impressed by was the collective community purpose, the higher purpose of the artwork. They created art for the people.
But yet, somebody like Calixto, for example, who makes political work and then what you might call personal work, there's that cross-fertilization between the two. There's the sense that the political work that he makes complements the personal work that he makes. The Jaguar has a symbolic, a political, a popular. It's all mixed together. All these different aspects of it come together to create a style that has changed over time from the earliest when Renee and Joss were running the studio, the very precise work, to the time of like the exploding expressive aspects of Michael Roman and Calixto, others. That style changed over time, but it was always committed to a kind of fusion of the political and the personal.
Yes. What would you like to tell the public? ¿Qué es lo que les gustaría decirle al público sobre Misión Gráfica, sobre el apoyo que necesitan y qué mensaje tienen para los jóvenes que están interesados en crear este tipo de trabajo?
Pues pues que vengan a Gráfica, ¿no? El taller está abierto, es uno de los mejores espacios para crear pósters a los jóvenes, pues que vengan a Mission Cultural Center a usar el espacio, es de la comunidad. Entonces tiene que venir la gente y crear, ¿no? Hay buenos maestros, hay música, hay teatro, no sé si hay teatro todavía, pero en Gráfica pues hay como 3 prensas allá, para screen printing hay cientos de pantallas ahí que han donado la gente, que están libres para que la gente lo venga a usar. Todo está ahí, todo es uno de los mejores centros de screen printing aquí en California, yo creo. La gente tiene que venir y tiene que estar abierto ese espacio para la comunidad.
What message do you have for the people that are listening to this podcast?
Well, I guess the arts community in general, the Mission specifically, has suffered so much from gentrification and the destruction of so much of the culture. So many people have been forced to leave. So many people who have been central to Mission Cultural Center over the years have been forced out of the city. So preserving that is not just making it into a museum piece or history in a book that is beautiful, but it's also keeping that beating heart alive. And I think the people like Calixto who have kept that, Calixto, such a long presence at the Mission Gráfica, and it's that continuity of people, it's that continuity of care within the whole Mission Cultural Center community that I think continues, and that's what we need to foster and keep going.
The Mission Cultural Center is the heartbeat of the mission, and Misión Gráfica pumps blood into our veins. And I just want to invite everyone in our community to take advantage of this incredible treasure, and not just take advantage of it, but support it. Support the artists, support the center, support the diffusion and distribution, dissemination of the history of our people. We've always been had the principle of the value of self-sufficiency. So here we are again in 2022,
doing it ourselves.
in our 45th anniversary, doing it ourselves. So if you build it, people will come, and here we have our history, and we are asking the public to support Mission Gráfica, to support artists. They have given a lot to our community through their work throughout the years. It's time to give back. And I'm asking everyone who's watching to get the QR code and make a donation to this Kickstarter for Indiegogo, and come by the center, come by our pop-up. We have about one more week left. You could buy posters, you could learn more about the incredible work that's being done at Mission Gráfica and Mission Cultural Center. Thank you very much for coming and for your time, and thank you. Come to our next episode of Radio Jaguar.